Today, another draft here on Splash Play. Stream draft over 126 for me in 2024. The 66th entry I have in BBM, and it's going to be a fun one today. Of course, half-point PPR, $1.5 million to first place. The best EV in the business is on Underdog. Of course, I'm already in a draft room here, so let's see what we got coming up. Picking in the 7 hole, so not my usual 3 or 11, 12. We'll see what we can make out of this team today. And of course, Draft Stalker in here in the 6 hole, because God forbid we can have nice things if I try to start a draft around 11 o'clock. But here we are. We'll see what we do with this one. And hey, been a few great drafts the last few days. Posted also some screenshots of me doing a DraftKings draft last night, which I was stoked by. I had basically 5 third-round picks in my first 5 rounds. Basically had 12 top 100 picks on DraftKings. So even though I am not streaming DraftKings right now, I do wade into the waters from time to time. And I will say, if you are a BBM drafter, hey, you should be drafting on drafters first and foremost, but you should be drafting on DraftKings as well for some amount of entries. If nothing else, you should give yourself a change of pace, build somewhat feel like super teams, and also, full point PPR, soft finals. Of course, made a good amount of DK Millie Maker finals last few years. So I'd give it my cosign as well. Shouts to all you guys being here, though. We got Paul, we got Al Boogie, we got Chunk, we got our guy Bindles as well. And shouts to our guy Bindles, who's working through some personal stuff, not to make a big deal out of it, but we do love our guy Bindles, want to see him emerge the best he can be. So hope that things are going well for him. And of course, if you are missing Bindles streaming content, hopefully we'll see him around here in the chat a little bit for the next few weeks. We'll see what we get here. Pick 7, chalk start here. Nothing too interesting. Could be a hero RB day for Bijan, I suppose. Yeah, I guess that's just it. Maybe a little bit worried about being avalanched. A lot of badges in this room, but we'll go Bijan for the first pick. Of course, Bijan probably relative to ADPs in the first round. The only RB that I'm taking with a good amount of regularity, McCaffrey at the 101. I have not been getting him a lot lately. Happy to be with the field on him. Frankly, if I get 101s, would be willing to be above the field a little bit on McCaffrey. Besides that, though, Bijan, one of my higher exposed players. And well, in terms of first round running backs. But I've got 8.2% Bijan right now, it looks like. So might be a little bit higher. 9.2% in BBM. So I'm above the field on Bijan, and he may end up being the only RB I'm above the field on unless I start getting some CMC 101s coming up soon. Oh, Adam's here too. Have no fear, guys. Our guy, old Adam, is here as well. But appreciate you guys watching live, getting some more competition. I think Davis is doing a stream right now as well. So unfortunately, that's how it's going to go in July and August. More competition coming, but I'll still be here doing the drafts every day. So have no fear. Of course, drafts every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m. here on Splash Play if you want to get more in your life. Fantasy Guru at the 12 hole goes Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison. So the usual thing that you get sometimes at the 12 hole, including what I did yesterday when I could not get Puka Nacua and Marvin Harrison together for the 1 millionth time. Yeah, I had to walk that one back a little bit. One of the highest exposures for RBs in the first round. Obviously, my Bijan exposure will not come close to my Marshawn Lloyd exposure, let alone my Chase Brown exposure, whoever else, my Brian Robinson exposure. But for RBs in the first round, look, for me to have more than 8% of an RB in the first round, that is a big shift for me from the last few years where I've been a staunchly 0 RB boy. Everyone wants to stream a draft now. Sure, I made it cool. It's not Pete. It's not the people doing it, not the ship chasing guys doing it for years. It's just me right here. No, it's like, it's what it is. People have to make their money, I think, or try to make money off of it until they realize that streaming really doesn't make you a lot of money. And you kind of have to do it for the love of the game. It's what a lot of people are going to find out the hard way, and sometimes do find out the hard way. But that's what we know here. We don't know all too well at Splash Play. I do it all for the love of the game every day. What do we got this next pick? It will not be a Drake London pick. I feel like a Bijan Drake start would be nice, but I don't think I've seen that come for me in a while, if ever. Nothing too exciting ADP-wise. I'm happy to keep doing Nico. Nico, one of my favorite picks in the second round at receiver. Would like to start to get a little more Olave. Nico, one of my highest exposed players in this range. I see no reason to change that. Waddle, we get enough of him lately. Adams maybe could stand to get a little bit more, though. Aaron Rodgers publicly politicking to get Devontae Adams going to the Jets again for some reason. Mentioned it on, I think it was Up and Adams, of course, Kay Adams show where all the stalwarts, all the important players come to talk business. I like Adams okay. I'm a little bit lower on him than guys like Nico. So not going to reach for Adams over Nico at this point. If you want to start making up exposures, you do it in August. I think that's one conversation point. I think a lot of people have been bringing up to me lately, trying to get unique combos and stuff with the 1-2 turn. And in reality, like any of these guys, I mean, anybody on the board, obviously, but in particular, any of these guys in the top 4 rounds can hurt a hamstring in camp, can hold out in camp, can tear an ACL. I mean, that's not one you want to have them then, but can tear an MCL. Or an MCL, you're going to be out, what, 2 months-ish, maybe a little bit longer than that with the recovery time. There's guys that are going to get hurt and stuff that are coming up here where it doesn't behoove you to, let's say, start taking Tyreek at the 101 because you're low on 103s. I think for right now, trying to stand pat with market data, trying to stand pat with your rankings relative to ADP is what you should be doing. Going for the unique combos and stuff, I think, is kind of a flaw for people's process right now. If you have, 125 entries and you're one of those brilliant people trying to max out the tournament very early without all the information you'll have in, later in camp, that's something where, sure, I guess try to get your unique combos then. Besides that, just don't really try to overthink it too much. It'd be a big thing I'm seeing for people asking me questions lately. All the Adams. That's it. We got Devontae. We got a couple Adamses who are members. Adamses. We got K Adams stock here. We got it all. Loud is on the K Adams show. Wow. I'm sure it was a really insightful conversation that taught us a lot about everything. I have not watched a single episode of Up and Adams. I don't know what goes on there. It could be the greatest. She could be the greatest interviewer since Charlie Rose, and I'd have absolutely no idea about what's going on there. And I prefer it that way, quite frankly. We got Stephon Diggs coming back. All right. Sure. I'm not going to look the Stephon Diggs gift horse in the mouth at pick 31. A Bijan, Nico Diggs start feels pretty good. Don't anticipate getting Tank coming all the way back, but in a perfect world, we would. But life isn't a perfect world, guys. Life is not a perfect world. Doubt we're going to see huge returns from a premature draft you later. Draft max in June, folks. Yeah, look, a couple of people have done it already. I've seen them. I have really not been impressed by their exposures. I think they hit him with the gritty guy, posted his, and he has the Chase Claypool thing is a bit for him. He's got 75% Chase Claypool. Really don't think you're doing yourself an advantage. And I do think that some of the people maxing out, no disrespect to that guy. He seems like a nice enough guy. But the people who I think are doing it kind of telling on themselves for what they are and how they view things. But that's not it. She's just hot. Maybe she's doing insightful interviews. I don't want to say that Kay Adams is just hot, but maybe she's got more going for her. GMs, appreciate you guys being here again. The journey continues on no matter what the competition is. So we'll keep doing drafts here at 11 a.m. And nothing else can be a leisurely draft today. I wish, though, we could not have a draft stalker in the room. Can fucking the icon go watch Davis Maddock? Can you go become a big fan of his and not be a weirdo to me every day? Would be very nice to hear. Very nice to see. More content out there for people I don't like. People I do like, be here. People I don't like, please go watch other things. Enjoy yourself. Bijan, Houston double here. One day Tank will come back. I'll get that Houston triple in August when everybody sours on the Texans because there's some report about how CJ Stroud's not going to be the MVP or something. We have Cooper, Pickens, Kirk. My favorite of these guys right here would be Kirk. Got to get Pickens at some point, but not today. Christian Kirk, I think, props up your wide receiver room pretty well if he's your wide receiver 3. Do expect him to be a guy that struggles to get touchdowns, but do expect him to have a lot of production, moving the chains, moving the sticks between the 20s. And then when we get to the red zone, I think there'll be the same amount of ATN UC, probably a similar amount of Trevor Lawrence taking some running touchdowns off the table, and then probably a little bit of Evan Ingram, positive regression in touchdowns. But the big thing for me is Brian Thomas, who I've talked about a lot. Great red zone threat at LSU. Think he'll be a great red zone threat as well moving forward. But we'll see what happens when the season starts. We're close. Getting closer than ever, guys. A couple months now. All the GMs. Everybody having a good morning, I hope. My morning could be better if people didn't stream at my time that I've been doing since January. But that's okay. Building a sick team is really the main thing that would bring me joy today. I've been spoiled by DraftKings, though. Once you play on DraftKings once, it's like, why can't every draft be one where people just don't understand the concept of market values? People just also, there's enough idiots in a room that you can actually scoop up the value without other people taking it away from you. It was a dream last night. 10 p.m. drafts in DraftKings. A dream. Besides the sniping. Besides all the absurd QB sniping. You thought the QB sniping's bad here on Splash Play Drafts and BBM. DraftKings, that's every draft room because they have no sense of what QBs should be doing and no sense of how stacking works. Really, the best stuff that you're going to get in July and August drafting in Best Ball. Oh, Doomsday at 49. Getting the Chicago triple. I know that reaching for the Chicago triple is the move when you might be able to get Doomsday back at 72 in some rooms. Ugh. Dortcher, Zay Jones, full point PPR. Probably take the shot on Dortch there. Fucking backhanded comments. Love a cult following. Be appreciative. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm appreciative of anything. I'm just really these drafts to me. It's not about me getting the most views. It's about me chronicling me winning BBM. Is really my insight, or the big board. Really, but chronicling my journey doing best ball tournaments this year is the goal of the stream. So some days you get a lot of people watching. Some days you get less. Just annoying when people like come specifically for your time frame and put on 4-hour windows. But it is what it is. Again, I get it as somebody that also needs to make money. So. That's the push-pull of it all. But getting fucking this dipshit in my room and also having that is a little bit of a double whammy for my joy. 0130 here. ADP-wise, the pick would be Patrick Mahomes. I think we do have to try to push Stroud, but this guy's probably going to fucking take Stroud. Oh, this is so annoying. People get Stroud in the 80s, but I could absolutely feel like this guy with Tank Dell is going to take Stroud. I'm going to go elite tight end here with Kyle Pitts and hope we get Stroud back. I don't think it's likely. This is the issue when you have a Houston stack. You push the Stroud drafter towards the Stroud towards the Tank Dell guy. Tank Dell guy is usually going to take Stroud, even though their bet with one player doesn't really get enhanced very much by adding Stroud on top of it. But if I had to guess, Fantasy Guru will take Stroud on the turn, and we'll see if that's correct or not. And if he doesn't, I'll be delighted, but I think he's going to go. Let's see. Let's sweat this out. If I had to guess, pick 61 will be CJ Stroud for him. No, thank God. All right, let's see. Do we get sniped on CJ Stroud? Walker, these guys all have QBs. So somebody taking Stroud here would be an absolute dumb shit move. That said, some of these guys we've seen in drafts doing sometimes dumb shit moves. So let's see. Does Stroud come back? Does Stroud come back to his normal-ish ADP of 66? And then the question becomes, do we dare push Stroud to 79? Because there's no Stroud drafter, no Texans drafter on this side of the board. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate trying to push Stroud all the way back. Greedy boys sometimes get what they want, right? 0-1-3-1 build for me. 2 more picks. Come on. I love when they use the full clock. Love when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to have to do with my next pick, and they just soak it all up. The most fun. All right. Caruso and Strategic saying, I got to push. Also, Jordan Addison, 15-pick ADP switch between DraftKings and Underdog, which I think we know which one the sharper one is. Something to keep in mind there. Houston, Jacksonville. I think Brian Thomas is the better pick here. I don't think Brian Thomas is going to come back to us anyway. So we're going to take Brian Thomas, and we'll see if we can push Stroud all the way to pick 79. And if it doesn't work, doesn't work. DraftKings at 10 p.m. is prime time. Should I switch it up to different times? I've found that on DraftKings, to me, nighttime DraftKings, a little bit later at night DraftKings tend to be the best. But I don't know that there's no data research on that I'm aware of. Got Stroud at 8. Yeah, here we go. Unstacked CJ Stroud goes here to a guy who's got Derrick Henry. So was still the right move to push him. This is not a good move to take unstacked Stroud. Again, an unstacked mobile QB at the slightest of discounts is not the move. When you do see enough people getting Stroud in the 80s, I think you have to do it. That said, we're still live for Jacksonville stacks. We still have the Houston double. We're going to get the benefit of the Houston double with Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins. I just want to get Stroud. Other people are getting him. That's basically it. I know it's going to drive some people nuts rewatching the stream later on, but unfortunately, that's the name of the game. Did I see off and on the clock's hot takes and their draft of their hot takes could make for a fun stream idea? I didn't. I'm sure it was a good time. Doesn't really, honestly, my main observation of doing these draft streams for a long time now, you add stuff on top and it doesn't actually add to views. So appreciate the suggestion, but ultimately, again, I'm just trying to build good teams. I'm not trying to do gimmicks this year quite as much. He's badgeless. There are badgeless drafters who are still good, I would say. You certainly can assume that badgeless drafters are going to do certain things like take unstacked players. That's definitely a big one. Reaching for guys ahead of ADP that you shouldn't reach for. Those are the things that unbadged drafters tend to do if you're trying to make a dossier about their approach. Yeah, that said, I do think that overall there are good unbadged drafters. So don't always assume they're going to be idiots, but when in doubt, when in doubt. Jamal Adams to the Texans. All right. That doesn't do much for me. I guess the one thing it could do, they have improved that defense enough that it could be something that matters coming up in the future. That defense could be good enough that maybe they don't have to press a lot of points on offense. Still think they will, but they don't maybe have to. Evan Ingram is still here. We saw Evan Ingram fall to the 90s yesterday, which isn't top of mind for me necessarily, but is a consideration. I'm going to go Ramondre here. Nothing I want to take correlation-wise yet. Wide receiver pocket, not the greatest one in the world. So we'll take Ramondre. Let's give this team a read. We've got Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, 2 double stacks. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, of course, did get sniped on CJ Stroud, trying to push him around. Still think that was the right choice. Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, and Kyle Pitts. So correlating Atlanta, correlating Jacksonville, correlating Houston, and we add Ramondre on top. No objections for me thus far. If you're drafting enough volume, you should push QB. Yeah, that's fair. If you're drafting, you have 10 entries you're putting into BBM, maybe then is when you do try to scoop the QB at ADP. Yeah, for me, I agree. Like, I have enough I'm putting in, plan to sell a 150, max it. So I think that I'm willing to push QB more. But in general, I still want to push QB more. Like, if you get 2 of 22 picks late, like I did yesterday, that's just better for your team. So that's how I feel about that fundamentally. The idea of Moss and Brown as this year's Mostert / Achane is a really interesting one. I don't think Cincinnati puts up that many points. Interesting conceptually in terms of them both having outcomes where they score points. Yeah, but I think you're talking like these guys occasionally both have 15-point games. Occasionally one of them has 20-point games. I just don't think you're seeing the ceiling of a Miami team, but that'd be my personal guess. I don't mind taking those 2 guys together. Same thing for Tennessee, but not something I'm doing everywhere. Definitely not trying to force my way to it. All right, so we do get DeAndre Swift coming back, who I have ranked more highly. Najee Harris coming back. Not the sexiest pocket in the world. I'll scoop the slight Najee value, I guess. I feel good about my 2 double stacks for right now being the baseline to have a good performance at receiver. So it's still like to get, ideally in most rooms, 5 receivers through pick 100, but I don't want to reach for Cortland Sutton. I don't know what that does for me. So we'll scoop Najee value instead. 3 RBs, 4 receivers, 1 elite tight end, or quote unquote elite tight end through our first 8 rounds. Moss and Brown or last year's Bijan and Algier. I think that might be closer in how I'd view it. I don't view them as Mostert and Achane personally. I just don't think there's that kind of bag. Though Moss has had big spike weeks, and Chase Brown, for a guy getting like 10 touches in a game, had some decent spike weeks. So I don't know. Can you survive with 2 QBs in the same bye week on drafters? If not, who starts week 11 for Pittsburgh? Please excuse my slow draft burning questions. You can. On drafters, I think somebody mentioned, actually might be our guy Tyler who just came in, had mentioned 2 years ago was Jalen Hurts, who was out obviously during the fantasy playoffs. That guy who had 1 drafters had Jalen Hurts and no other QB available. So you basically didn't need QB in that time period. Don't think I would assume that you don't need QB, but if you're in a build where you're just like stuck, I would say that 2 QBs in the same bye week would probably be a lower concern on drafters. It's honestly not even the biggest concern on Underdog. You just don't want to lose, 20 points for 1 week. But, on drafters, I think you get away with it even more. Javonte and Jaleel are going to be Achane and Mostert? No. Audric Estime is there to upset that very greatly on both sides. But also neither guys has, again, like for Mostert and Achane, that was such a specific outcome where is there any other player even in football who has a 40-point upside regularly who's in the Achane tier of player? Not really. So I would say, I don't know. I would say kind of a fool's errand to look for this year's Achane and Mostert, but there are some that can, certainly do something for you. Jaden goes at 100 to a guy without Terry McLaurin. Hate to see that. But a Jaden Jalen Hurts pairing is pretty fun for that guy. All right, so we have the option for both Tennessee RBs here. I do think a Tennessee RB bring back for Jacksonville makes sense at this point. I think that's what we're going to do here. Tony Pollard, come on down. Prefer Tyjae Spears at ADP. We're getting a slight discount on Pollard. Pollard and Tyjae Spears coming pretty flat to each other, which is, I would say, interesting to see. They should be flat, but obviously there's been, at one point, a 30 pick chasm between the two. Both guys are basically the same role. Pollard, a little bit less juice at this point of his career, but got bigger money. So I think these ADPs for them are pretty fair. Pollard at like 103, Tyjae at 110-ish. Favorite take I've heard is that Galaxy Brain, who is what else's Bijan team should have Braylon Allen, and Brees team should have Algier, an extra leverage. I don't really believe in playing for safety in these things. People are believing that more. I think if you're going to take two backs from the same team, you want them to be able to exchange weeks. I think it's possible that Brees and Braylon Allen could have some sort of push-pull, not dissimilar from Bijan and Algier last year. Because there's been a lot of signals we talked about from the Jets. One of my concerns for the Jets is that they've basically brought in over the last year 4 different running backs, seemingly to take pressure off of Brees. It's not just depth plays; they're guys that they want to kind of tank Bigsby, Brees Hall's, Travis Etienne, and they just haven't been able to get it to happen. So that would be my main point of concern, I guess, for Brees in general, but also a thing that gives Braylon Allen some upside. But like in every draft, handcuffing your guy is just not. I don't know. It's not historically been the way to play, but you can play it, I think, when both RBs like have a role. Yeah, there's a lot of Galaxy Brain takes out there. Look, I love Nez and John Warner, but I don't think you have to Galaxy Brain BBM that much. You just have to build solid teams and hopefully have some player things right, and then Sunrun. I don't know. The Galaxy Brain stuff makes for fun content ultimately. And then when you try to outthink things very much in July, I think you're doing a disservice, as I mentioned earlier. But it's best ball. You can draft however you want. It's sort of the fun of the game. Okay. God, it just continues to be RB pockets. At this point, with the bet we have, and with me just frankly not needing one of these other positions too much more, I think I'm inclined to just lock up Trevor Lawrence ahead of ADP. I hate Javonte. Take Javonte here. I meant to click him on the queue. Still, my instincts keep saying just push the QB. Trevor Lawrence ahead of ADP. What does it do for me? The Ingram drafters on the other side of the board. So ultimately, the savvier move might have been to just take Trevor Lawrence. But I think we can be done at RB now. And I do get some opposite play for my Audric Estime, which is always a thing that I'm kind of aware of. Estime, though, getting more positive camp reports. I think Sam Sherman tweeted out today the Athletic quote talking about how Javonte and Audric Estime expect to be in a competition. Again, as we talk about here, it's beat reporter speculation in the time period between mini camp and training camp, which is just them trying to find content basically to talk about. That said, I think there's bad signal for Javonte right now that'll make him come down. But for me, I have 25% Audric Estime still, or 20 to 25%. So I'll take Javonte as a discount here. Done with RB after Pollard personally. Yeah, I could see why you would be. We do have the hero. I think this would make us done for now. To me, it's just like, what are the choices at receiver? Like Mike Williams, AD Mitchell, Wicks. None of those do a lot for me. Trevor Lawrence, again, I think I get this pick, so I'll add on one more RB and try to stick the wide receiver landing in the ensuing 6 rounds. And if the guy who took CJ Stroud unstacked takes Trevor Lawrence unstacked, then fuck me, is what we'll say. This is not the way to draft. Not ever going to be a guy who panics about getting sniped. I'll be annoyed about getting sniped, but not going to panic about it. If I had Ingram, then I think you have to take Lawrence there, perhaps. But even then. I have an absurd about. Okay. I don't know what the sentence means. but you're a paying member, and I support you in your quests to say some different things. Okay. Absurd amount of Javonte. There we go. That makes more sense. I don't think it's a good play. Personally, this guy, the same guy, took fucking unstacked CJ Stroud and unstacked Trevor Lawrence. Like, oh my God. I should have just not done a draft today, is what I should have not done. Just, it's always the move to assume logical drafting, but fuck me, man. I might snipe Jeremy just for the fun of it. Oh, NF42 is in the chat. NF42 in all my drafts lately and in the chat. Glad to see you here. 0541. All right, so now we have to dig out and maybe set up some backdoor stuff. Do you want to get some oppo correlation for Atlanta? Let's go Jahan Dotson here. Wide receiver 5, 0551. Or pay the rake. Yes. Unstacked QBs, especially unstacked QBs that often go much later to their stack partners, are never the move. Both Stroud and Lawrence, usually in good rooms, you can push those guys, 15, 20 picks after ADP. So taking them unstacked for your team is one of the worst things you can do. But his name is Bird Brain. So what are we to expect? Snipe everyone. Who knows? Maybe we will. Oh, some days I do the stream and I'm like, why? I could have just done this draft by myself. Could have had a better time. But it's okay. There we go. Got Stroud at 95 yesterday. That should be possible. Oh, there you go. Didn't actually. Fair enough. Again, you guys get more worked up about it than I do. People killing their own teams to hurt mine is never something I'm going to freak out about. That's exactly what led to the BBM winner last year, in case we keep missing this point. Part of me just wants to take Jared Goff just to hurt Jeremy. And I'm going to do it today. Today's the day. Don't come in my draft room. I've asked enough times. I want to see the world burn now. He's got Brock Purdy anyway, so it's fine. But he's not getting Jared Goff too. I'm just not in the mood today. That's how I feel about this. Competing streams, people fucking ruining my draft. Jeremy did not snipe me. It's the idiot in the 3-hole who sniped me twice. Love it. How to make sense of this team? I mean, really, the way that you can make sense of this team, we have an uncorrelated parlay for Jared Goff right now, where Jared Goff has to be able to compete with CJ Stroud and compete with Trevor Lawrence. I think that bet makes sense to me. It's still a bet, though. The point of taking a QB is to get your parlay right. So, like, Jared Goff hitting means that Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, those guys are hitting. Or, there's enough pass game production that Goff is getting there. I mean, it's hard for him to have enough yards and rushing touchdowns to get there without passing touchdowns. But the point of taking a QB, for what it's worth, even though I took an unstacked QB here, is to just make it so that you are making your bet easier. That said, I'm just seeing it as like pure projection play. We're on a weekly basis. Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, I would say similar projections. Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, similar, maybe slightly favoring Goff. That's my logic here. So it's not the best logic in the world. We're going to go with it. Yeah, never trust a bird brain, indeed. Oh, well. Going to be one of those mediocre teams to have in the portfolio, and one that will advance because of that fact, I'm sure. All right, Jared Goff, we got Kirk Cousins. We will also get for our Atlanta bet. 2 QBs done, both pocket passers. Could take a late one as well. Team so far is a 2-5-5-1. Unstacked Jared Goff is an 11-pick discount. Kirk Cousins, slight discount there. Bijan Robinson, Ramondre, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams. So loaded RB room for sure, but there just wasn't a wide receiver play that I actually cared about taking at that point. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, Jahan Dotson got sniped on Stroud and Trevor Lawrence with the same idiot drafter. And then Kyle Pitts here rounds at the tight end room. We're fine. Not really worried about the team. just would have liked to have gotten the players that I should get with this team. Pitch probably to my friends who place daily bets that I'd rather not draft in the same room as you, learning and appreciating. Thank you, Steel City Blue. You're one of the good ones on both sides of that. And of course, if you do want to build your bankroll for betting, which is part of how I do put in my DraftKings entries, when I have a good day in betting, I'll sometimes, if I have the energy, do a DraftKings draft. Go check out Probly, PROBLY.com. That's PROBLY.com. You learn more about the product, and also you just learn more about EV betting, market-based betting, using top of market data to find the best bets. It's what we do for Probly. Of course, that's my quote unquote full-time job, at least for now. So check it out, Probly.com, and hopefully some good stuff coming for Probly as well before NFL season. Some stuff we're trying to build out. All right, on the clock here again. We've got our unstacked Jared Goff. We've got our stacked Kirk Cousins. What do we do to stick the landing here? Probably not taking more RBs at this point. Adding on Oppo correlation for Houston makes sense with our mini stack there. We will go Rashad Bateman as one of the picks. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver 6. I still prefer Tez Walker. We are running into a week 14 bye issue because we have 4 receivers on week 14 buys, so I'll have to be mindful of that on the home stretch. Team so far, though, is a 2-5-6-1. Jared Goff, unstacked, but a big discount. Kirk Cousins, a little bit of a discount. Bijan Robinson, Ramondre, Najee Harris, discount. Tony Pollard, discount. Javonte, discount. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs for the Houston double where we got sniped on Stroud. Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas for the Jacksonville double where we got sniped on Trevor Lawrence. Jahan Dotson to correlate with Atlanta for week 17. Rashad Bateman to correlate for Houston for week 17. And Kyle Pitts, of course, going with the Kirk Cousins bet. So it's still it still plays. The team still works. It's just an annoying pathway to a team that feels perfectly fine. An annoying and tedious and unnecessary pathway. Grab Bo Nix. Yeah, I'll get some more week 14 receivers. That definitely is the thing we need right now. The team doesn't need Bo Nix, though. Like, if you have Cousins and Goff, that's fine. Obviously, the Goff bet, again, looks better when you have receivers in that parlay, but doesn't really matter too much. The getting sniped will probably get worse as summer goes on. Yeah, I mean, it depends. Depends what the rooms are. But it's definitely the kind of year, as I've mentioned enough times on here, and I beat the drum. So if you guys listen to every show, you hear me repeat some points, but you have to keep in mind, it's basically for me doing these every day. It's like being a radio DJ where people come in and out, and you have to give them the weather and tell them about the fucking car crash on the bridge kind of thing. For a lot of these drafts, I think with people coming in, they saw the wrong lessons from the BBM winner last year. They saw the unstacked. They saw Tua with Mostert, and they go, oh, an unstacked QB. And in reality, what happened was Fareed Shaheed, not Rashid Shaheed, made a lot of concentrated bets on teams, and that gave him the impact of correlation without having the QB. And then he also made bets on teams that were ascendant and scored a lot of points. And those are the main things to take away. Instead, people take away, I can just take a QB with whomever. And in reality, that's going to kill large portions of portfolios out there. All right. This is going to be a little bit nuts, guys, but we're taking the opposite side of Jacksonville, Tennessee. We're going Will Levis here for our third QB. So 2 immobile QBs, Levis a little bit more mobile, add him on top. We're now game stacking Tennessee, Jacksonville at the very least with the QB. That's sort of what I'm trying to accomplish here in the back half. Goff is just going to stand on its own. So if you want to take one thing away from the BBM winner last year, Fareed Shaheed, he had CJ Stroud, basically for way cheap as a guy that helped prop him up to QB unstacked. For Jared Goff, I'm hoping that's sort of the facsimile here. We got Goff cheap. Goff could score a lot of points. We just don't have his receivers with him. So I think that could carry you through a regular season. How it does in a week 17, a little bit less good. Knowing your on-stream drafts and have propensity to get sniped, maybe just reaching for stack QBs is okay. No, because then when I push them and it works out well, that's where those are the teams that have the best shot at being really super powered. So the other day when I had the Tua stream, if you want to look it up, the clean draft for the haters one, it's where I got Tua 22 picks after ADP. That team was infinitely better for it. You want to build the best teams you can. You don't want to build middle projection teams. So no, it's not it's never going to change my approach. It's not about having scared hands. That's the whole point of the drafting things. You have to try to push stuff to advantageous spots. 3-5-6-1 here. In this room, and these amount of idiots, Chigakonko is the pick here. Tight end 2 here. Big Jacksonville, Tennessee game stack now. I'm happy with that. We have our correlation for Levis with Tony Pollard, with Chikakonkwo. Can tack on Tyler Boyd late if I want, but don't have to. That's the team so far. 3-5-6-2, Jared Goff on the discount here, unstacked. Kirk Cousins stacked up well. Will Levis stacked up fairly well. Bijan Robinson, Ramondre, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams. So we are effectively done at RB and have been done since pick 114. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, and a tight end, Kyle Pitts and Chikakonkwo. This team works for me. It would work better, obviously, with the 2 QBs we set out to have, but it works. Dare to push and build super teams. That is the goal. That is the goal. I'm fine going unstacked QBs after ADP. It's more of an advanced play. That's all. However, you have a Falcons double and a bring back. Yeah, look, I now have 2 fully game stacked games, and I have 1 uncorrelated QB who will prop up my total there. It works. I think the projection will work better as a result, but that's basically it for this team. That's right. Push QB is a way to go for guys like Stroud and Burrow. I think it is honestly a difference between, and I don't want to, see anything about guys who are watching the stream and saying, you got to take the QB and got to lock it up. Like, this is the difference, I think, for me between being, third year of maxing out BBM versus year 1, where I'd have been like, oh, I got to get my guy. Like, I've got this player and I need to get the QB with him. And I don't want to make it again. I don't like, maybe some people feel that way year 5 in. But I think when you see enough teams and you see what actually makes for teams getting more powerful, it's adding in that extra 1 round of pick, adding in those 2 extra rounds of picks from not panicking and taking a QB ahead of ADP. So I will defend it to the death. It's going to be probably a reoccurring theme all season long, or, the rest of this draft season. But that's how I feel about it. And that's going to continue to be how I feel about it. The team is definitely not less than a C+. This is still a really well-built team. I don't know. If people can't get over, like, compare it to the guy who took my 2 QBs, I think would be the best way to try to say that. Best drafters keep their spoon out and scoop value. Sure. Massage Man. Massage Man takes Deshaun Watson, which a little too on the nose. All right, 3-5-6-2 here. Boyd and Tez, very similar to me at this point. We don't have any pass catchers from Tennessee. We have a tight end. We don't have any wide receivers from Tennessee. It is a Boyd pick for me. So, again, increasing our game stacking, increasing our correlated bets to make up for the fact that we have one that's not correlated right now in Jared Goff. 3-5-7-2 build here. And I'll give the team a read before we hit our last pick. So we've got Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Will Levis at QB, Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams at RB. Wide receiver, Houston doubles, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. Jacksonville double, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Boyd. At tight end, Kyle Pitts and Chikakonkwo. Think you could make a case for a third tight end, could make a case for a low-owned Lion just to pair with Goff, though that doesn't feel necessary. It feels like the kind of thing you do just to justify your unstacked QB. I'm happy with the team. Obviously, I'd be happier if I got my guys at big discounts, which is what should happen. But it is what it is. Feels pushing also better on teams where players are reluctant to stack without 2-3 player stack. Stroud, Lawrence. Yes, which is why the push should have worked. You can't push Jaden Daniels. You can't push a mobile QB. Even Brock Purdy, you have a hard time pushing because people have seen unstacked Brock Purdy do well enough in multiple formats. But that's just my bet that's my belief, but it's also a bet, is that you have to really just be mindful of which guys you can push. When you see them get pushed enough, then you go, I've seen this happen how many times, you try to accomplish it. But that's, I think people have a hard time with that. And I get why you would. I get you just want to make your team as perfect as possible. But the big success that Fareed Shaheed had last year is that he basically got sniped at his guys and he said, I'll just build another stack on top of it, or I'll just take a QB and whatever. That's what worked out for him. It was also a very, luck boxy kind of run out to have that come together as perfectly as it did. Which is okay. We do have the bet on Atlanta. I think we can add on one more Atlanta piece here and build out receiver a little bit more. Don't think RB does a lot for us. Tight end could add a little bit of value maybe. But we got to have a bet on Pitts having the breakout year. So Kyle Pitts and then Rondale Moore will be the final Atlanta pick. This ends up being a 3-5-8-2 hero RB build. We have Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, Will Levis. Again, got sniped to death here, but made it work. Bijan Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Tony Pollard, Javonte Williams. Wide receiver, we've got Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Boyd, and Rondale Moore. Kyle Pitts and Chika Conquo round us out at tight end. So I am happy with the room. I think that overall, just the big things missing is not getting those guys a value. Not getting Stroud and Lawrence a value would make this team pop, and it would be like a perfect screenshot team. Instead, we built a really nice correlated team with Week 17 bringbacks and game stacks, but not the core QB. So the team can hold. Can it win it all? I don't know. What I do know, though, is I have no fucking interest in the second draft after that one. So we'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow will probably be a doubleheader, guys. Please subscribe down below, hit the like button. Again, I will talk about my process. I'll talk about what I'm trying to do. We'll talk about the data. We'll talk about the news. When we get into training camp especially, I think what I'm going to do is open these videos, a little bit of a news update based on the things that I saw that I thought were most important. So lots coming up here on Splash Play in the home stretch. So please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please leave a comment, especially now that it's getting more competitive. Your engagements matter a bunch here because the YouTube algorithm just doesn't reward me as much as it did when I was the only show in town. So please help me out here. Hit the like and subscribe. Of course, go check out Underdog as well. Promo code SPLASH on there if you're new. Use promo code SPLASH, get up to $250 in bonus cash. This is the best match deal you're going to find for a new deposit in best ball. So go check that out for yourself. Of course, drafters as well. Play on there. If you guys are not playing on drafters, you just want to break from Underdog, full point PPR, no pods, 17 weeks of total scoring. Those are things that are a lot of fun. And of course, it does support the show. If you go check out drafters and use that promo code SPLASH on there, that's a $100 in deposit match, and that's straight up match. You also get big rake back as well if you do all the Drafter Million tournaments, or Drafters Million entries rather. $15 tournament, $500K to first place on there. And Stochastic for your DFS needs, promo code SPLASH. And of course, probably PROBLY.com, sports betting data, get in your life. Thank you all the fine folks who joined, along with Chris Pointer, who joined right before the stream, and I did not get to add him to the list. Tomorrow will be the reading of names after not doing it last week, so all these fine folks hit the join button down below for $4.99 a month. You too can do that and get 10 team reviews a month from me. My rankings updated weekly with over 275 blurbs and some fun data points from Sports Info Solutions. You also get a VIP Discord. So 3 big perks if you join down below. For $4.99 a month, follow me at Chris Spags, but don't follow me in the draft rooms. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. So, hey, today, kicking the dick, but we made it work. Tomorrow's going to be my revenge. Sure. I'll see you guys. Enjoy your days and good luck. Bye-bye.